Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh Yadav will be taking their oaths. Meanwhile, sources have revealed that the NDA is to retain the position of Speaker in Lok Sabha, and Om Birla is likely to be the candidate, while offering the post of Deputy Speaker to the opposition India bloc. Om Birla was the Speaker from 2019. He served as the Speaker of the Lok Sabha already from 2019 till 2024, before the Lok Sabha elections commenced. Now, yesterday, the session began amidst the protest by opposition MPs from the India bloc outside the Parliament complex, where they highlighted the theme of saving democracy and held up copies of the Constitution. Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Samajwadi Party leaders like Akhilesh Yadav, Dimple Yadav were among some of those who participated, along with the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge. A notable aspect of the opening day was the linguistic diversity displayed as MPs took their oaths in various Indian languages such as Sanskrit, Hindi, Bengali and Gujarati, reflecting India's multilingual fabric. Key highlights included Prime Minister Modi and Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge engaging in a spirited discussion about the 1975 emergency. In fact, today the BJP is observing the Black Day in the history of the Indian democracy, which is June 25th, marking the commencement of Indira Gandhi's emergency period 49 years back. Prime Minister Modi in his address stressed the need for a responsible opposition and expressed his government's commitment to inclusivity and consensus building. During the proceedings, some MPs, including veteran K. Suresh, initially abstained from taking their oaths but later complied. The India bloc, represented by N.K. Premachandran, announced its intention to nominate candidates for the position of Deputy Speaker. Now, the BJP-led NDA criticized the opposition's Safe Constitution March, suggesting the focus should shift to the national progress post-elections. The opposition plans to raise issues like unemployment and inflation during the session. Upcoming events include the election of the Lok Sabha Speaker on June 26th, which remains to be the bigger question today. President Draupadi Murmu's address to both houses on June 27, followed by discussions in the passage of the motion of thanks. Prime Minister Modi will respond to the discussions in the subsequent week. Well, with that, let's cut across to our colleague, our input editor, Brijesh Pandey, who's joining us from the newsroom. Brijesh, very good morning to you. Very firstly, ahead of the second day for the 18th Lok Sabha, it seems to be like the stage is all set for the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker's election. It looks like Om Birla is to retain the position of Speaker in the lower house.
Well, absolutely, Shreya. You know, what we've been given to understand is that some sort of quid pro quo has been reached between the government and the opposition because the government does not want to send a message to people at large that there was no consensus on the post of Speaker. Om Birla, who was the Speaker of the 17th Lok Sabha, is all set to be the Speaker of the 18th Lok Sabha. What we have been given to understand is that the post of Deputy Speaker is something which will be most likely given to the opposition party. And it is going to be extremely interesting to see who in the opposition party, gets the post of Deputy Speaker. One thing is very clear, that the continuity process as in the ministry, the continuity process goes on as far as the post of Speaker is concerned. Sure.
Right, Brijesh. Brijesh, as we speak of the Speaker's post now, as we're also hearing, as you also mentioned, yes, Deputy Speaker is to be probably given to the to a candidate put forward by the opposition. So far, any names? Well, Brijesh, I'll come back to you. We have on our screens Rahul Gandhi right outside the Parliament with K.C. Venugopal. These are the latest shots that we are bringing to you from the Parliament. Remember, Rahul Gandhi, in fact, who's representing finally the Raebareli seat from Uttar Pradesh, is to be among the 281 members who are to be sworn in the Parliament today.
देखिए, आज अखबार में लिखा है कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि ऑपोजिशन को कंस्ट्रक्टिवली सरकार के साथ कोऑपरेट करना चाहिए। ऑपोजिशन ने क्लियरली कहा है, राजनाथ सिंह जी का खारगे जी को फोन आया, राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी से कहा, देखिए आप हमारे स्पीकर को सपोर्ट कीजिए। ऑपोजिशन, पूरी ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है हमने सब के सब से बात की है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि हम स्पीकर को सपोर्ट करेंगे, मगर कन्वेंशन ये है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन को मिलना चाहिए। राजनाथ सिंह जी ने कल शाम कहा था कि वो खारगे जी को कॉल रिटर्न करेंगे। अभी तक राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी का कॉल रिटर्न नहीं किया है। तो मोदी जी कह रहे हैं कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन हो, और फिर हमारे नेता को इंसल्ट करा जा रहा है। तो नियत साफ नहीं है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी कोई कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन नहीं चाहते हैं, क्योंकि कन्वेंशन है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन का होना चाहिए, और हमने कहा है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि अगर कन्वेंशन फॉलो किया जाएगा तो पूरा समर्थन स्पीकर के इलेक्शन में हम देंगे। तो ये मैं आपको क्लैरिफाई करना चाह रहा था। हाँ, यूपीए के समय में हमने दिया था। तो मेरा कहना है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी कहते कुछ हैं और करते कुछ हैं, यही इनकी फॉर्मूला है, यही इनकी स्ट्रेटजी है, और इनको ये बदलना ही पड़ेगा। थैंक यू। देखिए, इशू क्या है कि पूरा देश जानता है कि प्रधानमंत्री के शब्दों का कोई मतलब नहीं है। प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कोऑपरेशन होनी चाहिए, सबको मिलकर काम करना चाहिए, बाहर वो कहते हैं और अंदर कुछ और करते हैं। और हमारे लीडर को कहा गया कि कॉल रिटर्न होगा, अभी तक कॉल रिटर्न नहीं हुआ है। धन्यवाद।
Well, that was Rahul Gandhi, who's now put all the speculations to rest. He said that Mallikarjun Kharge had spoken to Rajnath Singh yesterday, and Rajnath Singh had assured Mallikarjun Kharge, the Congress president, that his call shall be returned, and Congress on their part had said that the opposition will come out to support the speaker, to be whoever is to be elected as the speaker, that from the NDA they will provide their full support, given that according to the convention, the deputy speaker's position goes to a member or a candidate that is put forward by the opposition. This is the condition that's been highlighted by Rahul Gandhi. Right now, let's cut across and go back to our colleague Brijesh Pandey, who continues to be with us on the broadcast. Brijesh, we hear the word consensus and we hear the word convention yet again. If we speak of convention, we saw what played out with regards to the pro tem speaker already, and now the Congress has come out to say that yes, we will support the government with whoever they elect as the speaker, if only they do give in to our demands for deputy speaker's candidate coming in from the opposition. Your take on that?
Well, I think, Rahul Gandhi is as combative as he has been ever since the results of this 18th Lok Sabha has come out. One thing is very clear, that the opposition is not going to take it lying down as it was, and the government, given the arithmetic in the Lok Sabha, is likely to play along as far as key issues are concerned. I guess in another half an hour, 45 minutes, it will become a lot more clearer whether the opposition is also supporting Om Birla candidate and the consensus approach of the government wins, or the opposition also announces a candidate for the post of speaker. I think a lot depends on the formula of give and take, and whether the government agrees with the giving the post of deputy speaker to the opposition parties. I think this is going where the entire consensus within the opposition party and the government and the cooperation, as Rahul Gandhi has been calling it, will be put to test. Sir?
Right, Brijesh, at this point, are we looking at any definite names from the opposition side with regards to both the speaker and the deputy speaker?
Well, as of now, no such name has come forward. I think the opposition has been given to understand, because Mallikarjun Kharge was not the only person Rajnath Singh spoke to. He also spoke to Mamata Banerjee, also spoke to Akhilesh Yadav and all. And the broad outlook which we are getting to hear is that the government might agree on the post of the deputy speaker. I think in half an hour's time, it will become all more clear that whether opposition is getting the post of deputy speaker or not, and whether opposition, puts up a candidate to take on Om Birla, who has a very good stint as far as the 17th Lok Sabha is concerned.
Right, Brijesh, and at this point, as we discuss about the second day, while we see that, yes, definitely this conversation on who is to be the next speaker and the deputy speaker is to take center stage, any other expectations as far as the particular session goes? Because yesterday we had seen, Brijesh, I'll come back to you with that question right now. Let's just dip in and listen to what
अखिलेश यादव जिनका ये कहना है कि कौन था हमारे साथ।
Well, we will try and get that audio connection with regards to what exactly was said by Akhilesh Yadav as he is en route inside the parliament. But right now, let's cut across to Brijesh Pandey as we were continuing our conversation with regards to our expectations from the second day. Yes, Brijesh, as I was just pointing out, what are the key expectations from the second day? We know that the conversation is to be on the speaker and the deputy speaker. We had expected some sort of tension which was also seen inside the parliament with regards to the pro tem speaker. Are we looking at a continuation on that front as well? We'll try and re-establish that connection with our input editor Brijesh Pandey. But currently, we're also being joined by our esteemed guest for the hour, Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist. Mr. Mukherjee, a very good morning to you. Very firstly, the question for the hour, for the day, for the second day of the 18th Lok Sabha seems to be who will be the next speaker. Now, the opposition has said that they will give their full support to the NDA for a candidate from the BJP for the speaker's post, if only they are allowed to field their own candidate for deputy speaker. And we just heard Rahul Gandhi, he said that while Prime Minister speaks of consensus and convention for that matter inside the parliament, we don't see him acting on it. Your thoughts on it?
Well, the only difficulty that I can see on the part of the government is if the two key supporters of the government, that is the JDS and Mr. Naidu's party,
TDP, yes.
Yeah, if they have asked for the deputy speaker post, then it is difficult for them to hand it over directly to the opposition. This will have to be negotiated and resolved. As far as the opposition opposing Om Birla for the speaker, it's not going to work because the government does have the numbers. They may put up another candidate and they may make some noise about it, but they won't be able to succeed in putting forward an opposition candidate for the speaker that actually makes it.
Right, right. And in fact, as we speak of the Speaker of the House and the election of the Speaker of the House, Deputy Speaker of the House, we've also seen, as Rahul Gandhi speaks about convention, yesterday also in a conversation with Mr. Prasad, we had flagged this off and this had come up, how these are mere conventions that are being mentioned by the opposition. There are no rules that exactly, bind them as to how this particularly, will be working, like which binds that the deputy speaker has to come in from the opposition. The opposition today has to say that, see, during the UPA, we had given the opposition this chance. So today we expect a similar thing from the government as well. The deputy will come back to us. But we saw what played out with the pro tem speaker as well. Again, another convention that was mentioned by the Congress leaders, by Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Kharge. But at the end of the day, it was Bhartrihari Mehtab who went ahead and was sworn in as the pro tem speaker instead of K. Suresh.
Yeah, if the opposition is trying to gauge its strength, particularly, with any of the other loose ends that are not part of the ND, they are too far away from a majority figure to actually, give substance to the combative tone that they have adopted. They were explained quite clearly that Suresh was not an 8-term consistent, Lok Sabha person, because he had lost twice. And that is why Mahtab was the better choice. They made a fuss anyway, and it was just that, a fuss. Similarly, they will do similar things with regard to the speaker as well as the pro tem speaker. I'm waiting for a few months, maybe the next session or the one after, by which time they realize that they really can't do very much, and that the government is not breaking up, and that the government is proceeding on its agenda. One interesting thing about the government is that they are throwing up the same faces as much as is possible. To ask for Om Birla again is yet another in keeping with all the senior lineup, which are the same people in the same jobs, almost as if this is a seamless continuation of Modi 2.0.
Right. And at this point, if we also take up the conversation with regards to another point that was, flagged by the Prime Minister yesterday in his address, which is the emergency. And in fact, we had seen Mallikarjun Kharge give a response to that as well. And today the BJP has organized a Black Day to be observed across the nation, 25th June, marking the commencement of emergency period during Indira Gandhi's regime. Do you think that might also stir up a conversation or some sort of a tension in while the proceedings of the second day continue in the lower house?
Well, facts are facts, and the ironic part is that the beginning of this 18th Parliament has coincided with the anniversary of the emergency. That the emergency was a 2 years in which there was no democracy whatsoever. The constitution was practically suspended, and most of the opposition was put in jail. The media was gagged, and in fact, several constitutional amendments were also passed without any discussion. So, I mean, for the Congress to talk of constitution and samadhan is a bit incongruous as well as farcical, because they have been, not only during the emergency, but throughout, under Nehru, under Indira Gandhi, under Rajiv Gandhi, under the UPA, they have amended the constitution more times than anyone else. It is also true that they ran the country for a longer period than anyone else, but they've thought nothing of amending the constitution whenever it suited. Not only that, if you look at 370 to start with, that is a temporary provision that lasted, I don't know, 70 years or more. So they picked on the wrong topic for the beginning of this 18th Lok Sabha, but then they tend to do this. They don't really cover all bases. They don't think of everything. They launch a program and then they get hoisted on their own patan.
Speaking of wrong topics, Mr. Mukherjee, there is another topic which is quite pertinent at this point in the nation, which is the topic of the NEET and the NET controversy. The government, the Modi 3.0 government, is faced by that great challenge. The Ministry of Education does have that major challenge. In fact, that is one of the notes on which it started. The paper leak, which has been an issue over the past 10 years, if we look at it, it has been there consistently, and now it's come out to be exposed at such a big level, with two of the major competitive exams of our country looking at malpractices of this sort and at this scale. In fact, what do you have to say about that? Because if we speak of issues that's being taken up by the opposition, this also is amongst one of the firsts this session.
Well, this one is the first demonstration of massive corruption under the watch of the BJP and, if you like, the NDA. The incompetence of the education ministry is writ large. This is completely unsupportable. And as a post facto situation, a lot of work is being done. A new law has been passed. People are being sacked. The exams are being cancelled. It is being taken up fairly urgently. It's gone to the Supreme Court. But the fact is, how did this happen under your watch? What does the BJP have to say about it? I think the opposition has a solid point here and should press home with all vigor.
Absolutely. But you know, the BJP, while yes, definitely, we look at the reactions from both the opposition side and the BJP's, what has come in as a surprise is the fact that Dharmendra Pradhan still continues to retain the portfolio of Education Ministry. At this point, do you think that is a correct decision taken by the Modi 3.0, taken for the Modi 3.0 government by the BJP? Should it have gone to someone else, especially given the circumstances? Because the opposition has clearly come out to demand that at this point, Dharmendra Pradhan should resign, given such malpractices being highlighted and the continuity of it. In fact, that is being flagged up by the opposition, and they have said that he should be resigning.
Well, the word on the street is, how do you have an illiterate as the education minister? You know, he cannot speak. You know, he is a misfit there. He should be sacked. There is no two ways about it. But having said that, the style of this government as well as the UPA is not to sack someone in the face of an opposition demand, but to do so quietly at a later date. I think that is going to happen. I think Pradhan is going to be moved from this and possibly out of the cabinet altogether for this major embarrassment that hasn't happened in UPA 1 or UPA 2. UPA 3 has kicked off with a large corruption scam which involves millions of students and their families, and is a matter of great shame even in our international standing because of the state of our education system. There is no two ways about it. The man needs to go. Why did it happen on his watch is something that he has to answer. But I don't think the BJP wants to sack him right now just because the opposition is saying so.
But isn't that too late at this point? As you are mentioning that, yes, the BJP ought to sack him, but the procedures you're mentioning that, yes, BJP has a habit of doing this quietly and, you know, dealing with this internally rather than taking actions on the behest of what is being said by the opposition. But at this point, given that 33 lakh students have suffered, wouldn't you say it's a little too late to, you know, continue with the internal workings within the party, make this an internal matter within the party?
Well, the other argument is that right now a lot of work has to be done to contain the damage, to prosecute the guilty, to change the laws, to implement a new system, and you need somebody in charge, and the incumbent is already there. So, and he's already proceeding, has been proceeding the last few days to make amends. So there is that. BJP, this is its first scandal which involves corruption that has come to light, and squarely so. There's no getting out of it. But the UPA had them all the time in multiple areas. They brazened it out through all of them, and they did sometimes move ministers, but they also did not do it in the face of an opposition call. So I think that's what's going to happen. Pradhan won't be sacked immediately. His retention will be justified as a necessity to get all the things that need doing done. And then later on, he'll be moved out of the education ministry, certainly, but probably out of the ministries in general.
Right, Mr. Mukherjee. Also, the conversation at this point, we will in fact take it back to the speaker. But one more comment I would want from you with regards to, how the LOP. I'm extremely sorry. The leading person from the NDA government in the Rajya Sabha, what we've heard is JP Nadda is to replace Piyush Goyal in the Rajya Sabha, leading the government side. Any comments, any thoughts on that particular front? Is it a correct decision?
My first comment is, let's hope he does a better job as leader of the NDA in the Rajya Sabha than he did during the elections, at any rate, as president of the BJP party.
So in fact, at the backdrop of that, do you think it's a good decision to have replaced Piyush Goyal in the first place and put in JP Nadda?
Well, Piyush Goyal is always immaculate. He has not put a foot wrong. He has won his election. He's done a good job as Commerce Minister. He is extremely well spoken, highly educated. So he's in a category by himself, I think. Possibly it's a matter of their rotational politics that has caused them. But why they use a rotational politics on Piyush Goyal and not on so many of these people who were there in Modi too is a good question. Nadda, I am a little apprehensive about, because he is really not a good strategist, and I don't know how well he'll handle the Rajya Sabha. He also lacks, if you like, charm and diplomacy. So I don't know why he's been put there, and why, instead of being punished for making a hash of the elections, he has first of all got his ministry back that he had before he went to the presidency of the party, and now he's got another elevation. I don't really get it. I know he's Amit Shah's protege, and maybe this process of keep building him up is a way of whitewashing his sins. But I'm a little surprised that they picked on him of all.
Right. So there seems to be a little bit of a hesitation with regards to JP Nadda having been replacing Piyush Goyal in the Rajya Sabha as the leader of the NDA government. Well, Mr. Mukherjee, we will continue this discussion, and to our viewers, we'll come back with all the latest updates of what's going on inside the house as well as outside the house only after the short break. Stay tuned to News9 Live.
The confidence is certainly back in the market.
Do tighten your seat belt so that you can withstand volatility.
I have one humble request to all the viewers of News9 is that please don't go, there will be a lot of choppiness, there will be a lot of volatility. Look at long term, don't look at short term. Buy quality, don't buy quantity, and wish you all the very best.
हमारा टाइम आ गया है और रहेगा.
This and more. Streaming on News9 plus news is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की। अभी डाउनलोड करें।
Welcome back. You're watching News9 Live and we are discussing the proceedings inside the Parliament, the lower house of the Parliament, as well as all that's been happening with regards to who is to become the next Speaker of the Lok Sabha, the 18th Lok Sabha that commenced on June 24th. With me is esteemed guest Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, and we'll continue the discussion over what exactly is happening and what may we expect from the upcoming days of this particular session that's currently underway in the Parliament. With that, we'll first begin the bulletins segment with Rahul Gandhi's response today outside the Parliament. He's spoken on who might the Speaker be, what exactly is the opposition's take on it, and whether or not they shall be fielding a Speaker candidate for the Speaker's post as well as the Deputy Speaker. Let's listen in.
अखबार में लिखा है कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि ऑपोजिशन को कंस्ट्रक्टिवली सरकार के साथ कोऑपरेट करना चाहिए। ऑपोजिशन ने क्लियरली कहा है, राजनाथ सिंह जी का खारगे जी को फोन आया, राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी से कहा देखिए आप हमारे स्पीकर को सपोर्ट कीजिए। ऑपोजिशन, पूरी ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है, हमने सबसे बात की है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि हम स्पीकर को सपोर्ट करेंगे, मगर कन्वेंशन ये है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन को मिलना चाहिए। राजनाथ सिंह जी ने कल शाम कहा था कि वो खारगे जी को कॉल रिटर्न करेंगे। अभी तक राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी का कॉल रिटर्न नहीं किया। तो मोदी जी कह रहे हैं कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन हो और फिर हमारे नेता को इंसल्ट करा जाता है। तो नियत साफ नहीं है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी कोई कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन नहीं चाहते हैं, क्योंकि कन्वेंशन है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन का होना चाहिए। और हमने कहा है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि अगर कन्वेंशन फॉलो किया जाएगा तो पूरा समर्थन स्पीकर के इलेक्शन में हम देंगे। तो ये मैं आपको क्लैरिफाई करना चाह रहा था। तो अभी क्या स्टेटस है? यूपीए के समय में हमने दिया था। बिल्कुल। तो मेरा कहना है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी कहते कुछ है और करते कुछ है, यही इनकी फॉर्मूला है, यही इनकी स्ट्रेटजी है और इनको ये बदलना ही पड़ेगा। ये अभी का क्या इशू क्या है कि पूरा देश जानता है कि प्रधानमंत्री के शब्दों का कोई मतलब नहीं। प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कोऑपरेशन होनी चाहिए, सबको मिलकर काम करना चाहिए, बाहर वो कहते हैं और अंदर कुछ और करते हैं। और हमारे लीडर को कहा गया कि कॉल रिटर्न होगा, अभी तक कॉल रिटर्न नहीं हुआ।
Well, with that now, let's cut across to our guest, Gautam Mukherjee, who continues to be with us on this broadcast. Mr. Mukherjee, let's also take up this point flagged by Rahul Gandhi. While you have also mentioned, we've seen the numbers, the majority still lies with the NDA, but the considerable amount of opposition members that are to be in the lower house this time, do you think that will definitely have an influence on how the discussions go, the narratives that are set in the Parliament, the conversations and debates that are done? Because the opposition has to say, and what we have seen over the last 10 years is that while the Prime Minister speaks of consensus and cooperation outside, the picture seems a little different when the sessions are actually held. Your thoughts on that?
Well, if you look at 230 plus, the Janta Janardhan has spoken and has reduced the majority of the ruling party and the ruling government and given quite a substantial number to the India Alliance. Now, in the past, the India Alliance spoke of a brute majority, saying that, these people don't have to consult us, they do not consult us, they pass bills into acts without discussion, they use their brute majority. Now there is a simple majority, And it certainly behooves the opposition to not rush to the well of the House, to not disrupt the operations, not create a situation where adjournments take place and slogan shouting and placard carrying rules the day, which is what has happened over the last 10 years. And their justification was, you did the same when you were in the opposition. When BJP was in the opposition, you disrupted the House in Manmohan Singh's government, and we are just returning the compliment. Now, with 230 and a number of good speakers amongst them, isn't it time for them to do what a parliament is meant for, which is to debate and discuss? They may not carry the day because they still don't have a majority, but their voices can be heard in a rational manner by the whole country, and indeed people abroad who are following Indian politics. That's, I would suggest, the challenge of the day. However, they're too used to taking the easy way out. They've started with demonstrations outside the House. Why did you move the statue? They brought this gimmick of a abridged constitution and they're waving it about. Inside, they've already caused one set of adjournments, and I wouldn't be surprised if they carry on in the same pattern as they did in Modi 2, rather than engage in proper discussion, which is what parliamentary democracy is all about. Will it happen in the Rajya Sabha? Who knows? As yet, this is the way to go, but will it go that way? I can't say.
Right, Mr. Mukherjee. In fact, as we speak of, the discussion being on speaker, let's just steer back the conversation to that. We've seen that Om Birla has already met the Prime Minister today ahead of the session this morning. Om Birla as a continuity, bringing in a continuity to the Speaker's post. We've seen from what we've heard from sources and from what it seems, he might be the one to take over again, yet again, another second term as the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. But if indeed the opposition is to put forward their own candidate for the Speaker's post, at this point, who might it be? Any names that comes to your mind?
It's hard to say. The opposition constitution is, going to emerge in the coming days. There are a lot of new people who have been elected for the first time. For example, in the SP. SP is the major player for their numbers. There's a lot of people, firebrands in the TMC. There are, of course, the 90 odd plus in the Congress. Now, the domination of the Congress numbers is something that is going to grate on the NDA alliance sooner or later. Because every time something comes up of any substance, the Congress is going to say, well, we're the largest number of people in the parliament. We get to call the shots. This may not go down well with the others. But for the moment, that is how it is being played. Opposition is being represented outside the House, albeit, by Rahul Gandhi. How long will, the others stand for this? Akhilesh will stand for this. Mamata Banerjee will stand for this. Stalin will stand for this. I don't know. This is something that has to be share and share alike. Is Congress going to allow, give you a short answer, a candidate as Speaker or Deputy Speaker that is not from Congress? Is that likely at this stage in the proceedings? I think for the Deputy Speaker, where they stand something of a chance, if the negotiations go well, they will insist on someone from the Congress. But is Akhilesh going to be okay with it? Are the others? In fact, if you had me choosing, I would choose a firebrand from the TMC to put a spoke in the works of the ruling party and the ruling alliance, because they're very good at it. They're very good debaters. They've got senior, junior, and middling amongst them, and they could do a pretty good job. You had earlier speakers and deputy speakers from Bengal. They do a rather good.
Right, Mr. Mukherjee. In fact, as we speak of Akhilesh Yadav and whether or not he shall be happy with a Congress candidate being fielded for the post of deputy speaker or even speaker for that matter, let's listen into what was said by him as he was entering the parliament today.
अब ये सब सामने आ जाएंगी, सब चीजें सामने आ जाएंगी, सब सामने आ रही है अभी चीजें, अभी सब सामने आ रही चीजें। जो विपक्ष की मांग यही थी कि उपाध्यक्ष विपक्ष का हो, जो हमारी राय पार्टी की है वो है कि उपाध्यक्ष विपक्ष का हो, और बाकी बातें अभी सब सामने आ जाएंगी। तो आप लोग सपोर्ट करेंगे नहीं करेंगे? अभी सामने आपको दिखाई देगा, इसी सीढ़ियों के बाद सदन है।
So what has been said by, in fact, both Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi at this point is just the fact that time will tell, and it's just a matter of, by the looks of it, it's just a matter of few hours, but within which we will get to know whether or not who is fielding the speaker's candidate, who's fielding the deputy speaker's candidate, whether both sides are coming in to do that, and whether they're supporting each other or not. Well, while the conversation continues about the speaker, Mr. Mukherjee, also give us your thoughts about Om Birla continuing for a second term as a speaker. Do you agree with this decision, or are you hesitant about it at this point?
In this instance, I'm very happy about it, because he was a pretty tough speaker in the last in the last Lok Sabha, and he was able to control a pretty unruly flock to an extent. It's comparative. If you look at earlier speakers, they were swamped and bullied. Om Birla was difficult to bully. He suspended a number of people when it came to it towards the end of the 17th Lok Sabha. After much persuasion, he adjourned a lot. He managed to retain the majesty of the speaker's office and the speaker's position. So I think he would make a very good speaker once again. I don't have any hesitation in agreeing to this choice. I think he'll do well.
Right. And when we speak of the deputy speaker, at this point, the opposition has said their demand is very clear. They just want their candidate to be fielded and to be considered for the deputy speaker's post. But from whatever has been said so far by the opposition leader, it doesn't seem like a consensus has been reached between both. They were expecting a call back from Rajnath Singh, from the NDA's leaders, but from what Rahul Gandhi said, I think they haven't yet arrived at a conclusion with regards to that. They haven't received a call back from Rajnath Singh, as was said by Rahul Gandhi. If we look at candidates at this point, who do you think are the probable names coming in from the opposition side for deputy speaker?
Well, like I said, I don't know specifically the names, but I would suggest a person from the TMC might be very good, but I can't see Congress agreeing to that. At the same time, there could be somebody from Akhilesh's party, SP, but most of his candidates are brand new and they've never been in parliament before, so I'm not so sure. I do think, in the end, the BJP is going to put the opposition in its place and choose a candidate from the TDP as the deputy speaker and vote it in, and that will be the end of all the noise and the overreach that the India alliance is demonstrating. You know, if they were more conciliatory they might have done better. But they are angry, frustrated that their numbers are nowhere near enough to actually put the government on the mat. Their plans to break the ruling alliance are going nowhere. Both TDP and JDS seem quite content, this is not going to work the way they.
But Mr. Mukherjee, if we speak about contentment at this point, if the Deputy Speaker's post indeed does end up going to a TDP person, a leader from the TDP, do you think the JDS will continue being as content as it is currently?
Well, JDS has never really said, I want the Speaker's post. They've been saying all kinds of things they need for Bihar, and they're getting them. TDP, on the other hand, has been talking of the Speaker from even before the alliance was formalized. So obviously they can't get the main Speaker because, that has to come from the ruling party. The convention is not very deep. If you say UPA did it, so what? UPA did a lot of things that the opposition didn't like. If it happened to have given the Deputy Speaker post to the opposition, well, that was good for them. But right now, with the combativeness that is being demonstrated by Rahul Gandhi and to a certain extent by Akhilesh Yadav, who is a more guarded person and watches his mouth rather better, I think the opposition will not get the Deputy Speaker's.
Right, Mr. Mukherjee. In fact, just for our viewers, once again, we would like to play out the response that's coming from Rahul Gandhi, which sums up the situation at hand currently, what are we looking at, and to an extent also implies what we may expect from this election for the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker's post, which is to take place tomorrow. Let's listen in.
लिखा है कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि ऑपोजिशन को कंस्ट्रक्टिवली सरकार के साथ कोऑपरेट करना चाहिए। ऑपोजिशन ने क्लियरली कहा है, राजनाथ सिंह जी का खारगे जी को फोन आया, राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी से कहा, देखिए आप हमारे स्पीकर को सपोर्ट कीजिए। ऑपोजिशन, पूरी ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है, हमने सबसे बात की है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि हम स्पीकर को सपोर्ट करेंगे, मगर कन्वेंशन ये है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन को मिलना चाहिए। राजनाथ सिंह जी ने कल शाम कहा था कि वो खारगे जी को कॉल रिटर्न करेंगे। अभी तक राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी का कॉल रिटर्न नहीं किया। तो मोदी जी कह रहे हैं कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन हो, और फिर हमारे नेता को इंसल्ट करा जा रहा है। तो नियत साफ नहीं है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी कोई कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन नहीं चाहते हैं, क्योंकि कन्वेंशन है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन का होना चाहिए, और हमने कहा है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि अगर कन्वेंशन फॉलो किया जाएगा तो पूरा समर्थन स्पीकर के इलेक्शन में हम देंगे। तो ये मैं आपको क्लैरिफाई करना चाह रहा था। तो अभी क्या स्टेटस है? यूपीए के समय में हमने दिया था। बिल्कुल। तो मेरा कहना है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी कहते कुछ है और करते कुछ है, यही इनकी फॉर्मूला है, यही इनकी स्ट्रेटजी है, और इनको ये बदलना ही पड़ेगा। अभी का क्या इशू क्या है कि पूरा देश जानता है कि प्रधानमंत्री के शब्दों का कोई मतलब नहीं। प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं कोऑपरेशन होनी चाहिए, सबको मिलकर काम करना चाहिए, बाहर वो कहते हैं और अंदर कुछ और करते हैं। और हमारे लीडर को कहा गया कि कॉल रिटर्न होगा, अभी तक कॉल रिटर्न नहीं हुआ।
अभी सब सामने आ जाएंगी, सब चीजें सामने आ जाएंगी, सब सामने आ रही है अभी चीजें, अभी सब सामने आ रही चीजें। जो विपक्ष की मांग यही थी कि उपाध्यक्ष विपक्ष का हो, जो हमारी राय पार्टी की है वो है कि उपाध्यक्ष विपक्ष का हो, और बाकी बातें अभी सब सामने आ जाएंगी। आप लोग सपोर्ट करेंगे नहीं करेंगे? अभी सामने आपको दिखाई देगा, इसी सीढ़ियों के बाद सदन है।
Well, at this point, what we are learning is also that no consensus has been reached with the opposition. This is, in fact, breaking input that we are bringing to you, viewers. No consensus on Speaker's post, and the India bloc is likely to be fielding their own candidate, not just for the Deputy Speaker's post, but also for the Speaker's post. Mr. Mukherjee, coming back to you, I think that sets a very different narrative for the conversation, and pretty much on the lines of what Rahul Gandhi was saying, that no call has been made by the NDA, by the ruling party, by the BJP, that is also Rajnath Singh has not, while Mallikarjun Kharge had a conversation with Rajnath Singh ahead of the session, no call back has been received, and from what it seems at this point, no consensus either. So are we looking at quite a tension-laden atmosphere on June 26th, which is tomorrow, when the Speaker's election is to take place, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker's election is to take place in the House?
Well, one is based on these reports that the government is quite prepared to play hardball. Second, despite all the thunder and lightning of Rahul Gandhi's tone, as well as the sort of veiled threats of Akhilesh's tone, this is not going to add up to anything. They don't have the numbers. They can produce 5 speaker candidates and 10 deputy speaker candidates. They can't get them elected. That's the bottom line. They can make a lot of noise, and I'm sure they will.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Mukherjee. I mean, I think quite an interesting session it is to be both today and tomorrow, as the stage is being set for who is to be the next speaker for this 18th Lok Sabha. Whether it will be Om Birla indeed, in fact, one of the first speakers, if indeed it is him, he will be one of the first speakers in 20 years to be re-elected. Another history being marked in this new Parliament House for that matter. Mr. Mukherjee, thank you for joining in at News9 Live and speaking to us about this at length, discussing this in depth. With that, we've come to an end to this bulletin, but do stay tuned to News9 Live as we keep bringing you all the latest updates from inside the Parliament, as well as whatever is developing outside the Parliament, as the 18th Lok Sabha has commenced. It began on June 24th and it continues as 281 newly elected members are being sworn in today in the lower house. With that, thank you for watching.
When we talk about India, unfortunately the country has the highest burden of road crash fatalities.
तो लगभग 76% लोग pedestrians और two-wheeler वाले हैं जिनकी डेथ हुई है. While the highways are getting better in India, the local roads, the city roads, the town roads, these need to be improved.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?